Excellent. Well, thank you for everyone for joining us today, this afternoon or evening or morning, depending on where you guys are in the world. We are here with Enrique. I'll let him take a second to introduce himself with Pocket. If you guys want, put questions in the chat. We will be doing Q&A after the presentation, and we will leave some time for that. But I'll let him take it away from here. Enrique, thank you so much for being with us. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Awesome. I'm really excited to be here with you guys and being able to do this presentation. So let's just get on with it. So hi, everybody. My name is Enrique, and I've come to you to talk about Pocket. And we're going to find out what Pocket is, what you can use it for, and we're going to see some cool stuff with it as well. But for now, let's get on with it. I've had the socials here if you want to reach out on Twitter. But of course, this presentation and everything else will be available after and recording the stream for you guys. Now, let's start. First of all, hi. So again, my name is Enrique. I come from the Dominican Republic. That's in the Caribbean, if you guys didn't know. And I do JavaScript stuff at Pocket. It's usually front-end stuff, but I'm a bit of a jack of all trades. So front-end, I've done smart contract work before, subgraph, back-end. I just like Web3. I do basically everything. The list goes on. And if you've seen my face before somewhere, we probably met during my time at Argon 1, where I did stuff with DAOs. And yeah, that was really cool as well. But now with the team at Pocket, and I'm real excited to tell you about actually the centralized infrastructure, which is really important for blockchain projects. Now, let's get on with it. We're going to be seeing these three things. What is Pocket Network? We're going to see an overview of the protocol, which is really important, and also integrating with the Pocket portal. We're going to find out about that later. For now, let's see. Guys, let's face it, we need people to run nodes. We cannot rely only on centralized infrastructure providers. We usually, a lot of people think that indexing will solve this problem, and the reality is that you need to get your data from somewhere, right? From somewhere that data needs to come, and it comes from a node. There's no getting around that. You of course can put an intermediate step. You can surf through a relational database or just index the whole thing and then create an API through it like the graph guys do, which is pretty amazing. But the reality is we need people to run nodes to actually decentralize the network. We're doing an okay job, but we can do better. Now, what's the problem? Running nodes is expensive and getting more expensive by the day. We have fee charts here. And if you think about it, you can actually see that the sync times get longer because the chain gets larger. No getting around that, but it's giant. Like the chain's pretty giant. And even though we're getting better and better and more optimized nodes, we are still running into the problem that it takes a long time. And unless you're a validator, you're probably not getting any rewards for it. So it's kind of an altruist task to run nodes. So as a community, we need to push for our infrastructure to be as decentralized as possible, so we're actually unstoppable. Now, there's got to be a better way, and this is where Pocket Network actually comes in. So, right, that's a lot of talk, right? We need people to run nodes. How do we incentivize them to run nodes? So this is what Pocket Network is all about. Pocket Network is a protocol that incentivizes people to run full nodes through cryptoeconomic incentives. That's all it does. It incentivizes people to run full nodes from any blockchain or any publicly verifiable database if you want it at that, but more on that later. Let's focus on the node part, right? That is the important part. Now, this implies a few things. You as a developer can connect to any blockchain through the Pocket Network. Of course, a chain that is supported on the protocol. We've got like 13 chains going right now and more coming on the way. Now, also, as a node runner, this is very important to you. It means that you can actually start earning revenue from your nodes through the network just by opening up your nodes, spinning up one or a few Pocket nodes, and just getting into the network and driving traffic. It's actually profitable already today, and we've got quite a few highlights to show you. So first of all, We got more than 5,000 validators from more than 100 independent node runners. This means that we're truly and progressively decentralizing. If Amazon goes down, we're not going to go down. We have node runners at home that run their own nodes in hardware. And the funny thing is, these home node runners, tend to have the best service in the network because they're so incentivized to earn Pocket that they optimize their setups to earn more rewards. It's pretty crazy, but it actually works. We've done 250 million relays just in the past week. That's a lot of relays. When I mean relays, I mean requests, right? When you use an app, let's say Earnify, my crypto, you're actually driving relays through the network because they use us in production. There are a few apps that already trust us and have driven a lot of relays in the network. We got Earnify, my crypto, OneHive, Dark Forest. And the one crazy thing is that if you, for example, played Dark Forest in the last round, or you have used any of the services in OneHive, you probably have already used this and you haven't noticed. And also, for example, the Scaffolded ETH, the tool by Austin Griffith, we're actually the default meaning provider. So yeah, it's very possible that if you're a developer, you already use this. Now, let's go and see the protocol overview, because that sounds very cool, but let's have a breakdown and see how it works, right? Now, for Pocket Network, it sounds like it's a lot of stuff, but we've got two actors involved. We got developers and we got node runners. That's the simple part. Now, there's a bridge between these two, right? There's something that connects them together. That's the network itself. And of course, they're paired through sessions. But now let's see all the individual parts. Let's call them three: developers or applications, sessions, and node runners. Applications can acquire the native token of the network, that's Pocket, P-O-K-T, its ticker, and stake it for the selected chain or chains that they want to connect to. Now, they can, for connecting to the actual network, they can use their JavaScript SDK, or if they're opting for the free tier with Offer, you can use an endpoint provided through the Pocket portal. Now, more on the Pocket portal later. We'll have some fun with it. Now, as these applications send relays to the network, they're connected. Each session, think about it as like a session where you're connected to 5 different random nodes in the network. Of course, these nodes are driving traffic for the specific chain you want, right? Now, this session is the mechanism which allows these nodes to be cycled and replaced each hour. It also lets the node runners generate the relay badge, which they will then send to the chain to earn Pocket for their work. Node runners receive the relays through their Pocket nodes, right? And then from their Pocket nodes, they go to their data nodes. Let's say they go to the Ethereum full node that they're running. They then serve the relay from the node and fulfill the request of the application. And of course, they earn Pocket in the process. And let's find out a little bit more about the mechanism for apps and nodes to connect together. That's sessions. They're stateless and deterministic. There's no magic here. As soon as you do a relay, you get connected to a session. You get assigned 5 different nodes. They last an hour, serving relays to you. And then after that hour, that new session is created, the old one's deleted. And of course, then the relay batch that is created is then sent to the network to be validated, included into the next block. And then the rewards are claimed by the node runners. So that's really interesting. Now, let's talk a little bit more about how the network actually works, right? Because there's a little interesting mechanism, but there's more to it. Let's dig into the finality layer of the network. We use Tendermint consensus. We're a big chain, right? So this thing works, but we're using Tendermint consensus. We're pure proof of stake. There's no on-chain delegation. We want that to avoid centralization. We want the network to be as decentralized as possible so we can actually scale. We use the secret sauce from all about this to make Pocket Network actually fast and reliable is the fact that we're using zero knowledge range proofs and Merkle sum tree index trees to validate relays in a batch, right? And then the distribution is 89% of the block reward is distributed to the actual nodes that fulfill those relays, right? The nodes that receive the requests. Then 1% to the validators that included all the transactions in the network, and 10% to the DAO. Now, the DAO part is interesting because it means that the network itself that is governed both by applications and node runners can then decide how to use this revenue to then further optimize the growth of the network. So that means that there is governance in the chain, it's on-chain governance. We've got a very lean governance process, and you can join the DAO by joining our Discord and going through a Pocket Arcade. You can join Discord and see what's all about that. Today, we're not going to look at that. But of course, you want to find out more about the economics and everything related to that. You can also see our white paper that is in our website, and also just dig deep into the Pocket portal and use us and see what it's all about. You can also then spin up a Pocket node. We've got that on GitHub. It's all open source, and our whole team will be waiting for you in Discord to answer any questions. We've got a very healthy node runner community that has grown organically by the day, and they're always answering questions for the newbies. So no, we're not gatekeepers here at all. We want you to run nodes. We want people to run their own nodes at home. A lot of us run our own nodes, and we are having fun with it. We do fulfill relays, and we do get usage. It's pretty great, actually, once you realize what Pocket's all about. But now, sure, how do I, as a developer, right, integrate with Pocket Network? There are two ways. First of all, the maximally centralized way, you can use Pocket.js directly to integrate your app and send all the relays through it. Of course, that's a very involved integration method. We're trying to make it better, and it's the best option to actually make your applications decentralized. And everyone should consider that option because it will make your app pretty much fully unstoppable. Now, there's an easier method that we want to show off today that involves using this thing called the portal that I've already mentioned quite a few times, right? So that option answers using the portal. You get an endpoint from there. And when I mean an endpoint, it's exactly the same type of endpoint that Infura will give you, right? You get that, and then simply you connect your application with that endpoint and you're using Pocket. Easy as that. Now, let's look at the Pocket portal, right? So that fancy named application is just an API gateway. That's all it is. It lets you connect to the network through an endpoint, right? Now, of course, there's some more things in there, right? It's not as decentralized. We do try to keep a lot of uptime, right? To fulfill all the services we need to give. And actually, all the applications that use us right now, most of the applications that use us are going through the portal because they get some added benefits to it as well that we're going to see in a little while. Now, why then use the portal? Because it's easy, it's convenient, and you're actually using a decentralized infrastructure provider, and you're helping the network grow, right? Basically, it's just a CC, few clicks, and you can mint a reliable, censorship-resistant RPC endpoint powered by the centralized infrastructure, right? Now, the interesting part is that we're minting it. So that means that your application is actually running in the Pocket network, is getting staked, and you're actually using it. You're driving relays to the network. You're contributing to the growth of the network just by using us. So of course, that means that if you have an app that is getting a lot of traffic, right, you can put that endpoint in your rotation and simply use it, and you'll get good service, get good quality service, and you will be helping Pocket Network grow. Easy as that. Now, of course, we've got a few benefits as well. A lot of, it can be cumbersome to get infrastructure for your applications once it grows. With Pocket, it's a little bit easier. We've got no arbitrary rate limiting. There are no contracts, no lock-ins, no hidden fees. Everything's in the network. you can read the economics to then actually realize how you can turn that infrastructure you get into an asset, which is really great. And yes, of course, we do have a free option. We'll talk more about that and actually test it out, right? So we support a few networks. Ethereum, of course, we support it. All of the testnets, mainnet. We got mainnet support for archival with tracing. That means archival retracing basically means that you've got some added functionality to be able to sync subgraphs, for example. A lot of people use this actually. They sync their graphs, subgraphs locally with a Pocket endpoint, and it works perfectly. So then if you think about it, you can, for example, host your app in Fleek, right? IPFS. Then for connecting to the network, sure, spin up at the graph node, getting into the network, use their network, and sure. But now these providers that will host the graph endpoint can then use a Pocket network endpoint to actually sync their subgraph. And guess what? That's maximum decentralization, baby. Just as easy as that. And you just need an endpoint. So that's really cool. We also support other chains like Polygon, of course. XDAI, we recently launched that, and we've been embedded for a little while, but it's getting some real usage. If you play Dark Forest, again, you probably used us and it worked smoothly. And for anyone that ran into problems, we were there helping out. So yeah. And also we support BSC, mainnet with archival, Avalanche, Fuse, and other blockchains that we're working on, right? The list is growing by the week and things are just getting better. Even the service is just getting better each day. But we do support those networks. Now, let's talk about the portal highlights and the free tier, right? So the free tier is, I think it's really nice, actually. It's 1 million relays a day, right? So if you think about it, that's around 42,000 relays per hour. That's a lot. So you will probably not run into problems using the free tier for a long while. When you do, though, you can just contact us and we'll be in touch with you and see what we can do to keep you using Pocket and giving you more bandwidth, right? You have 10 plus chains to pick from. We already saw which chains there are. You have up to 2 endpoints per account. And of course, all of that can be fixed through deals that we can make with you guys. You have then any UI that you can keep track of your endpoint at all times, right? You can see the success rate. You can see the requests you've made. You can see the average latency you're facing through the node, through the endpoint. And we've got email notifications built in, and we're improving the system every day. So you get also other types of notifications. But basically, you don't only get to use the network if you use the portal, you actually get an actual UI, which we can use to track your usage. And of course, this is not everything. We've got some pretty nifty stuff that we're going to see once we get into the portal. So let's just jump into it. So now we're just going to jump here to the network overview. Can you guys see this?
Yes, we can see it.
Amazing. Great. So we're here in the portal, right? We got a few things we can look at. Of course, I've already logged in. You can, for example, come here and either sign in or just create an account here. I'm not going to go through that. We want to see the actual usage of the network. So we're going to go to the portal straight away, but you can create an account very easy, really quickly, and we'll be integrating things such as GitHub login real soon. And by the way, I want to mention, this is really privacy focused. We're not tracking any of your data that can fingerprint you. We do have some little analytics just to see page clicks and whatnot, but we're keeping track of your data. We self-host our own things, and we basically keep your privacy safe. So this product is not only to help the network, we do keep you safe in the process. But let's go here. Here's the network overview. We get the total amount of relays we've done in the past week, right? Right now, we're getting some little slow speed issues with the time series database we're using. So things may load slowly for now. We've been getting hammered with usage, so we're working through it, but it's a good thing. But as you can see, you get all the total relays you've done in the past the network has done in the past 7 days. The success rate, which is looking pretty great right now at 99%. you can actually see the amount of relays, right? We can see we have a network summary of apps staked, nodes staked, and pocket staked, right? If you want to read more about the economics, you can click here. And as you can see, you can get to know the economics here. And of course, you can also read the white paper if you got to our website. But now this is a really interesting thing. Here's all the available networks that are in the network, not necessarily in the portal, but these are running through the network right now and getting released. So as you can see, we have a lot of production chains. We got, of course, our own network, Pocket Network Mainnet, Archival, Ethereum Archival, Mainnet, Roadstone, Rinkeby, and all of that, yes, right? We've got a few in beta. We, for example, very recently, we just whitelisted Solana. So that's moving up to production real soon, but it's live in our network. And we got a few others, but we want to see some Ethereum stuff, right? So just jump into it. I'm going to show you one very interesting endpoint. We're going to look at, it's a public endpoint. So we're going to have to watch out a bit about a few things, but this is an actual being used in production live endpoint that we're going to look at right now. That is the EtherJS mainnet load balance endpoint. Now, let's work through the whole screen. The first thing you see is the name. Why is it called load balance? What does that mean? So if you think about it, EtherJS is a public endpoint, right? So that means that they probably want more bandwidth. So we're doing some really cool things with the composability that the network has with applications. We're actually packaging a bunch of applications, and each of them have an amount of release per day. And basically, they have multiple apps running, right? So if per app, they're getting 5 different nodes, let's say they have around 10 apps, right? That means that for each application, they get 5 nodes. If they have 10 apps, that means they get 50 random nodes serving relays. That means that they're getting decentralized data from 50 different nodes. That's pretty crazy, because if you think about it, most applications depend on one endpoint or just one node. And if that goes down, they have a problem. Here, 5 nodes can go down, 10 nodes can go down, and there will be no problem. They'll be getting their good data. Now, as you can see, we have the endpoint here. You can click here to copy it. You get a nice animation. Real pretty. I really like it. But basically, this endpoint is composed of a few things, right? You can see the network right here. Then gateway.pocket.network. And then the API path. And this here at the end is your gateway ID, which will also have available over here, right? This is very important because it means that, for example, you can hot swap endpoints by just changing that ID. We'll see how to do that later. Of course, you can see the success rate. As this is a public endpoint, a lot of calls can fail, right? If you're testing, for example, a contract and you do a bad call, that of course will hit that success rate. But it doesn't mean that they're getting bad service. They're actually getting really good service. This is really helpful to see if you're actually doing something wrong in your code. And we can see the total requests they've done recently, right? You've got this average latency that, of course, can be a little bit higher depending on what call you're doing. A lot of people that use EtherJS are doing very expensive operations, such as ETH.getLogs, which is a very heavy operation. If you didn't know, a lot of infrastructure provided rate limit this call because it's very heavy in nodes. But of course, we've got flexible limits for that. But of course, as you can see, the latency is around 300 to 400 milliseconds. It can be lower than that, or it can be around that. But we ourselves don't introduce as much latency as you may think. And we still have pretty good service, even though you go through a few hoops to get your data. You can see stuff like current usage. They've got 99% of their endpoint used right now. We can see the weekly usage with a nice graph that shows you the amount of release they've been doing and the limit. And if they're going over the limit, I found that really cool. And yeah, this is really cool as well. You can see the latest requests they've done. This is really useful for debugging. At least I find it really useful because I tend to mess around with Ethereum a lot I, for example, really like NFTs. So I tend to do some funny things with them. And so if a call is failing, I want to know which call it is, right? And I can see them all here. I can see the result and the time lapsed. As you can see, all of these calls can take very little time, or depending if it's a call that is more heavy, depending if you're calling contract, it can last a bit more, but it's still fine. Now, of course, we get more things. We get the app status, right? It's staked, it's doing good. This is the amount of pocket that they have staked in total. This is provided for free as this is a community endpoint, and the max amount of release they have per day. Now we can of course go click more details, and we get some very nifty stuff. Again, apologies for the loading. We're fixing that right now, but basically here you can dig even deeper into how your endpoint is actually working. You get the amount of total requests and successful and failed requests. And of course, once this loads, you can actually filter through them here and actually see what's going wrong, which is really nice. But now, of course, that's the basic screen, but we got more, right? So let's say you as an application developer, you want to do some more stuff, right? And let's say that you have to protect your endpoint, right? This is community endpoint, no need to be protected, but you want to close it off. You want to, let's say, for example, you want to only make it accessible through your website so people don't steal the infra. And in crypto, this happens a little bit too much. So we can just go to app security here and then change things here. You can see that you can require a private secret key that will get shown only when this is on. And then you can also use this very nice thing. This is, you can add whitelisted origins and user agents with this. This means that you can, for example, if you only want to serve it through your website, let's say you can put here super cool crypto app.build. That's your domain. You can put that in there, edit, and then save the changes. Of course, you can do the same with the user agents. But basically, you can change each of this stuff and get as much security as you need or want for your endpoint. Easy as that. Now, let's go back. And of course, I talked about notifications. So let's go to notifications. Here you've got some nice things. As you can see the weekly bandwidth usage. This is really useful when you're actually setting your notification settings, because let's say, for example, that your endpoint gets used a lot. And so probably that means that you want to turn up your 100%, 75%, right? But let's say that you don't get used that much, right? You're not doing many relays. So sure, you can then just turn off the little alerts. I just turn them all on because I like getting my alerts. And if my project blows up overnight, I don't like to know, so I can contact the team and get more relays, right? But again, you can then change all of this here, save the changes, and then go back. Now, of course, we're not going to test this functionality right now, but you can also switch chains. That means that if I wanted to change all the chains from this endpoint, I will be able to do so. And let's say, for example, change this endpoint from mainnet in Ethereum to Polygon, right? Or convert this into an archival endpoint. That's really nifty. But now, sure, we've seen this, but how do you make an endpoint? My account has a lot of endpoints as I create a lot of them, but let's go through that right now. Let's click here. So if you can see, you get a welcome screen and you get into the free tier. So we can call this app ETHOnline app, right? You can call it whatever you want. You can even add emojis if that's your thing. I really like emojis, but we're not going to do that here. Now, of course, as you can see, you can select the network. We've got a lot of them. So I can, for example, go and search from Ethereum, right? Here, just like turn it up, right? or I can delete that and just like flick through the list as I want, right? Here, I want to use a 3-minute endpoint, right? Want to test it. It's called ETHOnline app. If you want to configure your app security, just go here. And then, of course, you can see all of this. And you can go back. When you're ready to create your endpoint, you can then just say launch application. The endpoint will then get created. Some things will load, some things take time. But once it loads, you've got your screen, right? And as you can see, it's loading the applications. It's as easy as that to use an endpoint. So now, this endpoint, we're going to use it as soon as it loads. And I'm going to show you some stuff that you need to know about the network real quick. So yeah, as you can see, we've got the screen here. That was just in time. Now I got my endpoint, and as you can see, my gateway ID is quite different. But I'm just going to copy this real quick. I'm going to go to Insomnia right here, and I'm just going to put this here. Of course, this works exactly as an Infura endpoint, for example, or an Alchemy endpoint will work. You can just swap them and you can use them in exactly the same way. But now I'm going to send a request. You'll notice something here. The first request for each session can take a long time. This means that you're getting connected to the network and getting in a session. So basically you're getting different nodes and all of that jazz, but now we're connected to the network. And as I send more relays, the data keeps coming back real fast. Now, it slowly will get faster as time goes on. And as you can see, calls are just taking less time now. But of course, this gets better the more relays we send as the session gets saved into the network, right? But now, as you can see, I'm just getting my data back real nice. Of course, it's in JSON RPC format because I'm doing a direct call. I do a lot of these to test my endpoints. But if you want to use it in an application, the only thing you need to do is in your endpoint string, you can delete your old endpoint and put your pocket endpoint. And that's all. And as you can see then, once the app refreshes in a little bit, we're actually going to see that we'll be getting the usage. But going back to the endpoint, as you can see, this is how it looks when you get a usage. Looks real nice. Then with that, that's the portal really. You just sign in or sign up, you create an endpoint and you start using it right away. That's it. Of course, then let's go back to the presentation and let's talk about things that everyone likes. We've got 8,000 DAI in prices total. Of course, because of the ubiquity that Pocket Network can be used, we got some different types of prices, right? First one is the shared price pool of 4,000 DAI. You can then earn an equal share of the price pool, right? You can use a Pocket-powered endpoint in your app. It's just as easy as signing up right now and getting that endpoint. So basically, it means that if you're going to use any of the chains that we support, you can use an endpoint from us and you're running for this price. Real easy. Of course, if you want to go the extra mile, we've got some more prices, right? First price will get 1,250 DAI, the second 500 DAI, the second 200, the third 250 DAI. So we got two prices here. First is the best hack that adds a pocket-powered RPC endpoint for any blockchain supported, right? So that means the best application that we judge is using Pocket. We got 3 places for that. And then the most creative hack, incorporating both the Pocket Network endpoint and the graph. We really want to see people composing different tools in the ecosystem. That means that we want to see people using Pocket not only with a front end, right, and connecting to ethers. We want to see people using Pocket with hard hat. We want to see people using Pocket with the graph, right? We want to see people driving release to the network and actually using these tools, composing them together to then show people that you can have maximal decentralization and also an app that works very well. So we want to see your hacks for creating something with Pocket Network and the graph. That's $2,000 DAI in prices as well. And again, first gets 1,250 DAI, second 500 DAI, third 250 DAI. So yeah, With that, as you can see, you can get hacking right away. You can just follow the other ETHOnline presentations to get more ideas and get hacking. With that, I can leave you with some resources that I really will recommend you to read. You can read the docs, right? We here explain everything from the network and the applications that I just explained. You can read more in detail. Of course, you can go for the Pocket portal through that link as well. And you can actually use it, get your endpoint right away. We've got a demo if you need a little more of a tutorial in YouTube. And you can also join our Discord. We will really love if you join our Discord. You can join the DAO right away. You just need to go through the Pocket Arcade and do some work for that, but you can earn a vote and actually get in the governance of the network. That is very important for us because it's a decentralized infrastructure provider. We want to see engaged users. So come join the Discord, come chat with us. If you need support, we'll be there. If you want to earn a vote in the DAO and you're really excited about Pocket, you're welcome as well. With that, thank you very much. This is my presentation. And if you guys got questions, let's go for them.
Thank you so much, Enrique. That was incredible. I'm such a fan. As he said, if you guys, any questions at all, please feel free to put them in the chat. We'll take a few moments to do that. I know we're a little bit over time, but I want to give you guys an opportunity to ask questions while you're here. If no one has any questions, we can end the session. But as was mentioned, if you want to follow up, take the conversation to Discord. There are pretty knowledgeable people from the Pocket team ready to answer all of your questions. One sec, let's see if we have any in the chat right now. I don't know, I think we might be good, which just means Enrique did an incredible job explaining everything.
I hope.
One can only hope. No, I think this was an incredible presentation. I want to thank everybody for coming out today, joining us this afternoon. And Enrique, thank you so much for walking us through all that. This was a great presentation. Really, really excited to see where Pocket goes next. And as I said, follow up with the team in Discord and take the conversation offline. And we look forward to seeing what everyone builds with Pocket.
I'm really excited as well for that. Really want to see what people build with Pocket.
Right on. All right, we will be closing the stream here. Thank you to everyone for participating, and we look forward to seeing you at our next presentation.